Doomsday 3.
Yeah, we had Doomsday 1.
No question in my mind.
He came from one of the toughest areas of Phoenix, also especially of course.
Safety and
on the defense, talking about it. You better get your ass to the ball. You better get to the ball.
I just gotta say, when it comes to mortality,
Different.
For sure, and they would have thrown it off because
this guy gets off you.
Father from and then I go to bed every night like G man, I promise you that we got a What is up, Cowboys Nation? Your boy Mike Tag here. You see, someone's missing from this trio. Hopefully, you guys, I'm going to tell you about it. Make sure if you guys are rolling in, hit that like, subscribe, share, because I'm always bad about saying it. But my man Kelly K9, I didn't get a chance to tell you, Greg, but Greg's joining us. Greg, how you doing, first of all?
Doing good, man. Cowboys for life. How y'all doing out there?
All right. Well, Kelly, everything was all set. What's up, Steven, Michael? We got Holy Terror. We got Vince. We got Steve. We got Cowboys Cave, which is me in there. We got a bunch of people in the chat. So
Holy Terror.
Kelly, unfortunately, got his kids were driving back from Texas, and you got to love this generation, Greg. They got a flat tire, and they don't have a spare in the car.
Oh, yeah. That's the young generation right there, buddy.
So
no doubt.
Kelly's got to drive about an hour to go bring a tire, and he made sure he put a jack and all that in his car because he has a feeling if they don't have a spare, they probably don't have any tools to fix it either. So he had to bring everything with him. So Kelly's in trouble. Hopefully he'll be able to join us. Maybe he'll pop in. It all depends on when he gets back. And then, of course, we got our man Eugene Lockhart is going to be coming in. I see him getting ready. He's getting things rolling. So we're going to get into this because my man Eugene, you guys know when training camp starts, that's when Eugene, the hit machine, is getting kind of right. The juices are flowing. He's getting ready. I don't know if he's going to be going out there because we needed some linebackers. Maybe he was training and getting everything going, but let's see if we can get him on here. Let's see if we can find him. Eugene, the hit machine. What's going on?
There he is.
What's up, Mike? How y'all doing?
Doing good.
We're doing good. I don't know, Greg, have you met Eugene? Or
Yeah, I met Eugene. Twice
yeah,
on the show because we got to be hungry.
That's right, man. So we've been on a couple times together there. Greg, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, Gene. How you doing?
Yet holding on, trying to keep on keeping on, my brother.
That's right, brother. That's right.
Yeah,
Getting ready for
the chat and the fans in the cave. They love you, Eugene, and they always ask. And I said, well, Eugene he's getting healthy. Had some surgeries, had a lot of things going on. So you always keep him in your prayers. But how are you feeling? You've been, we haven't talked to you on, in the cave a little while. So how's everything going, man? Tell the people what you're up to.
I'll tell you what, man. I'm about 85% better. It's not all the pain is not gone, and it never be gone. But I've already started back training a little bit. I'm running and lifting weights and doing all the things that's necessary to try to rehab my body and get back to some kind of normality. But I can tell you, the worst thing I guess is like the memory. You as time progresses, your memory loss become even worse. And I went to the doctor and he said about the same thing. But I rebuked that. I believe the best is yet to come. I believe that I'm going to be 100% and no weapons formed against me shall prosper. I believe that in the name of Jesus. So that's where I am with it. But now, man, it's Cowboy season, football season. The Rangers are doing pretty good. They have to win some games before they get to the playoff mode. So it's exciting here in Dallas, man. It's exciting. I think the rookies and quarterbacks are already at training camp. So it's just a matter of time now.
Yeah, it's getting close. I think we're about a few days away, week away, but they're going to get going. What's your thoughts on the defense? Because you're a defensive guy. You bring that intensity. And you know, we had a great guest, Kason, talk about they need some dog and this and that. Now you got Zimmer coming in, who he's a fiery guy. I mean, you don't hold back. They made some moves at linebacker, right? They got Kendricks. They drafted the kid from Notre Dame. They got Overshown maybe coming back. So maybe that linebacker core, I don't know if it's going to be as good as your days, but maybe we can get something going. What's your thoughts on the defense?
I think I really believe that this year, with the guys that you just named, especially the draft choice, Overshown and those guys, I believe those guys have all the capabilities, you know, to stop the run. But I think one of the main things is the defense is the way that Zimmer is going to use the #1 draft pick from last year to become a hole stopper. You know, Amazi, and get him in there, man, to push that center back and allow those linebackers to flow downhill instead of going sideways, and allowing those guys to get space in order before they even start to run. So because of that alone, just with the defensive linebackers and that making that move, that makes them better already. So looking forward for the defense to be, you know, they hadn't been bad any time, but the main thing is they just couldn't stop the run the way they needed to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. And I see Zimmer coming in, I think is going to get a little bit more discipline and far more respect from that defensive coordinator, because Zimmer is a quiet assassin. He doesn't play.
Let me tell you something. Now you're talking about a real man. He doesn't care what your name is. It doesn't matter how many years you've been playing. He respects it, but he's going to hold you accountable to you doing your job and doing it well at your position. Because if a defense is not, if it's not, everybody is not on the same page, if everybody is not fitting the right way or doing the right things, that's when you can see holes come wide open. That's when you see running backs running up and down the field on them. But he's going to hold everybody accountable every play, and he's going to assess it, and he's going to make decisions on you. They're not going to like him. Believe me. Right. He's not one of the kind that care if you like him or not. The only thing he care about is being the #1 defensive coordinator in the league and helping the Cowboys get back to respectability as far as stopping the run and perhaps getting back to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to see. This team has
right.
it's been way too long. We actually had one of your old teammates in the cave, Kevin Gogan,
right,
in on Tuesday, and he talked about the mentality, the toughness, especially the teams that, you know, you guys were on in those late 80s into the early, you know, in the 90s before they became a Super Bowl team. He said the one thing, you know, bully the bully. And there was a lot of talk of, can this Cowboys team, can you get that identity, or is that something you're bred with, or born with, I should say, because it just doesn't seem like the team has that mental toughness dog in them. Is that something that these guys can kind of get from Zimmer, or can it be infectious over maybe a couple guys that they maybe drafted or brought in? I mean, what's your thoughts on that mentality?
Well, here's what I think. Winning and becoming a defensive player, one of the best defensive players, not just being on the football team. I believe it's a mentality. You have to have that mentality to know that, hey, whoever you put in front of me, whatever position, whatever formation, whatever down and distance it may be, I'm going to win. And when you have that type of attitude, not only just on Sundays, but when you have it every single day of your life, it doesn't matter what you're competing in, the life, whether you're raising your kids, whether you're family, you want everybody around you to be the best. Not only do you want it, you demand it. You demand it from yourself, and you demand it from everybody around you. So once you get that type of mentality and everybody's feeling that same way, it's hard. It's hard to beat a defense like that. It's hard to beat it because everybody's trying to get to the football. You got 10, 11 guys trying to get to the football. And once they make a big play, everybody slap them on the head, let them know. I'm talking about it's contagious. And not only that, then the fans get into it. They can't wait till the defense to get back out there. and show exactly what they can do. And not only that, it put fear. It put absolutely fear in the offense, the offensive team that see 11 guys flying around trying to take your head off. And it's contagious, man. And that's what's so fun about being linebackers. That's what's so fun about being defensive ends, that's sacking the quarterback, or the defensive nose guard taking the center and running them back into the quarterback. And once that happens, now you got the turnovers, you got interceptions coming, you got fumbles coming. Now you have a defense with a mentality that people don't really want to face on Sunday to Sunday.
Yeah. So what about on the current defensive line right now? Which person that's a veteran, which person do you think should set the tone so that everybody else can be affected by it and say, you know what, if he's the one that's pulling the strings over here and he's leading us, let's get that infection from him and let's start building on it and continue to go on? Because who's the one person on that defense that Zimmer's going to be looking at the most to be that leader?
I think, and it's been said now that some of the things that's been going on with Parson has been somewhat negative, but I haven't seen any of it. But I think it starts with Lawrence and him. I think once you get those guys going, and Lawrence knows how to play the position. He's been a defensive all pro. He's been a defensive standout his entire career, more or less. And once you get him going, and then you got Michael Parsons coming off the end or coming down through the middle, once somebody get a really good hit on a running back or a linebacker or a running back or a quarterback, man, then everybody gets it. It's contagious, man. It's just a good feeling to be around somebody that have a mentality of, I'm going to beat your butt every single play. It's going to be like this all day from now on, from 3 o'clock to whatever time the game is. You're going to go down. And that's what it's all about, baby. That's what it's all about. You got to be hungry. You got to be hungry, baby. You got to, hey, you want a few people to bring their lunch to work, baby. You got to get hungry.
Yeah, I remember the Hurricanes, and I'll butcher it, but they used to have this saying is they're going to tell you how they're going to beat your ass on the field. They're going to beat your ass on the field, and then they're going to beat your ass in the parking lot to remind you how they beat your ass on the field. That was the mentality of those Canes in the dominant days, and that's what the Cowboys, I mean, I think that's the only thing that's missed, because when they're reeling, like you said, man, it's infectious going, but when they get adversity, that's the part that worries me. They get adversity, they got it. It seems like they retreat, and you just got to overcome that. Because, like you said, man, you got to get adversity throughout the season, throughout the game, throughout life, through everything, and they got to pull themselves together and just push through that. Because that's the part I'm seeing from them, especially last season when they didn't get off to that fast start or they got pushed around. It just it snowballed.
Right. It can become lackadaisical. But one thing about professional sports is, especially football, you have to really have a short memory. You have to have a short memory, because the play before, it really doesn't matter, because you can't do absolutely nothing about what happened to play before. You got to have a short memory, and the way you have a short memory is the next play, you be dang sure that you make some type of difference. You make some type of difference to overcome that, and then you forget about it, and then you move on to the next play, because if you still thinking about it, then that's when you're going to get beat. That's when you're going to get embarrassed. But short memory, man, I tell you what, you have to have a short memory in order to be the best at anything, whether it's life, whether relationship, whatever it is. You can't let it linger on you all day, all your life, and all summer long, and all this. Well, we lost to Green Bay last year like this. No. That's over, baby. Now it's a brand new season, 16 games. It's time to start getting that mentality even right now. With the rookies that's already out there, they need to start showing up right now to show what they can do. Because once the big boys come in, you're not going to get that opportunity to show that much. But again, have a short memory, play the play, and then know that before you walk off that field, you're going to walk off with your head up, and you're going to be a winner. And week by week, you can feel that Super Bowl champion coming out within you. And that's what the Cowboy fans are expecting this year from a 12-4 football team that had all the horses, had everything in place. But that's what they have now. They're going to have that short memory and let's go in 24.
Yeah. I kind of feel like this defense is going to be better against the run as the defense was last year. Once they plug these holes, Zimmer's going to be a huge part. About 75% of that success is going to be on Zimmer, because I think Zimmer's going to mold these guys and they're going to understand, just like you said earlier, when you come in here with Zimmer, he's not a player coach. You know, Zimmer wants you to do your job, and you need to do your job, or Zimmer will let Jerry and everybody else know this guy right here ain't stepping up to the point, and we might need to find somebody else to pull in. And those young guys who really have nothing to lose, they're going to be hungry, looking to take one of those comfy jobs that somebody's already sitting on, and they may set the trend as the person to lead that defense as the captain. Because like I was telling Mike last season, you know, I love everybody on the Cowboys. I love all the past Cowboys, period. But D-Law to me kind of dropped the ball during the season. If most games, if somebody didn't tell me he was in the game, I wouldn't even know he was in the game. And I would like D-Law to be the one to carry the torch. Because when I asked you that question, that's who I was thinking about, D-Law. If he does step up, and if Zimmer puts some fire up on them, and D-Law says, okay, it's time for me to play my best game now because Zimmer ain't playing, because I could be on the chopping block, then we'll get that defensive captain that we need.
I think we're far from seeing him going on the chopping block, because you got to remember one thing about D-Law is that before he became and getting all those quarterback sacks and becoming one of the better defensive linemen on the field. Now what you see is every team is double teaming him. And because they're double teaming him, that's when it leaves everybody else one-on-one.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how effective he is. If you demand that kind of attention, where you have to have two guys on you, that should let everybody else know, baby, hey, I know they got two guys over here. I'm going to be one-on-one. That should fire you up and give you a mentality that, hey, thank you, D-Law. Yeah, you didn't get that many sacks. You didn't get that many tackles, but you demanded a lot of attention. And because you demanded a lot of attention, we were able to let our mentality, let this defense flow, and let's have fun with a defense that's led by a defensive end that does his job, not sometime, but all of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think D-Law doesn't get a lot of the credit. Now, I'm not going to go back rehashing the thing you said after the season, but he does a lot of dirty work. Like you said, Eugene, he's eating up double teams, but he's one of the better DNs against the run. You know, I mean, he's always pretty stout against the run. And I think if we can get a Sam Williams or Nealon, somebody opposite that can make some way and get some pressure, I think there's an opportunity, because we talked about the D tackle being the depth not being so good, is you might be able to move Tank into D tackle sometimes and have Parsons, Tank, and then if you had like a Sam Williams and an Osa, you're starting to kind of mix things up a little bit with your D line and give you some versatility, because that's what worries me, man. Right, Eugene? The game's won in the trenches, and you got to be able to dominate at the line of scrimmage, and we need to be able to do that. That way the linebackers, you know, like you in your day, that way you can eat. You're going downhill, putting a hit on somebody and bringing some pain to one of these running backs.
Man, when you're playing behind somebody like Randy White and Too Tall Jones, and you don't have John Dutton, man, and when you got all those guys, and those guys come hungry on Friday. They start starving on Friday and Saturday, man. They can't wait to get on the football field and say, I'm hungry, baby. I'm hungry. I need some running back, or I need some quarterback, or somebody to eat because I'm hungry. And I think, once you get someone else on the opposite side of D-Law, once you get someone else up and down the middle, pushing the offensive linemen back, taking them back in the backfield and making tackles behind the line of scrimmage, that marks an excellent defense that not only those guys are playing well, but the defensive guys that's coming in. Because, you know, I don't think in this era that one guy's going to play the entire game. So they're going to be rested. They're going to be rested. But I'm telling you, Zimmer is not having no making the mistakes and doing all that because he will get up in your face. Because I tell you what, the defense, the defensive capability, the names that they have on that defense, that defensive line, and now at safety and corner, man, you got the makeup of one of the best defenses in the league. And I think they wasn't that far from being the best defense the last couple of years, if I remember right.
Yeah, no. Their problem was always, like I said, when they got pushed around, like the 49ers, the Bills, when they ran into some of these teams that were committed against the run and got on them, that's where they ran into some trouble. But hey, man, we got 132 in the house on all our platforms with Twitter, Facebook, and also on YouTube. You guys make sure slide over to YouTube. That way you support the cave, support Eugene, the hit machine. But let me ask you, Eugene, who was your first start against? What team? Because I know Bob Brunig got hurt, and I just want to give maybe an education of these rookies. They're coming in, and they might get called upon any hour. And I remember Bob Brunig got hurt. What game was it? Who were you guys playing when you got your first start?
Man, I tell you what, we was playing against the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles was a team that was hard, one of the hard to beat. That's when they had Ron Jaworski and they had Wilbur Montgomery running back. And man, that offensive linemen looked like giants. And see, here I am on the sideline. I didn't think I was going to play no linebacker. Man, I didn't know any signals. I didn't know anything. So for the rookies, know your signals and know your responsibility. Man, when they called on me to go out there and play, this is 3 plays. After 3 plays in the first quarter, man, I couldn't find my helmet. I was so nervous. I'm talking about, for real? Are you for real? Because you have to remember, I was 6th round player taken. And, there was 3 guys before me. That was Billy Cannon. Then there was Ed Martin. And then they already had Jeff Rohr. And then there's Bob Brunig, and then me. I wasn't planning on seeing the field until perhaps the 2 or 3 years. But here it is, the 3rd game, bro. And I'm out there, I'm sitting over there by the water jug, and I can't find my helmet. And Coach Landry had to call a timeout. And oh my God. Then I'm having to walk up and look at him, and he didn't call a timeout. And now I'm running out on the field, knowing no signal, having no idea about down and distance, positioning on the field, formation. I didn't have any idea. So, brother, it was a rough first game for me. It got to the point where 2 guys, Too Tall Jones and Randy White, had to take me to the shower at halftime and told me some things that wasn't very nice that I care not to repeat now. Yeah. But I do understand this. I say, even if I don't know the signal or I don't know the scheme, I'm going to make the tackle. No. So that's what I did. So I made 17 tackles that game. But let me tell you what the funniest thing was. I waited just about till everybody got off the field. Everybody went in the dressing room. And I waited and I waited and I waited. And when I thought the door was closing, I wore my entire uniform with my helmet on. I ran to my car and got in my car and drove all the way home because I didn't want to face Randy White and Too Tall Jones. That's the God honest truth. And because of that, man, I have not ever missed another signal, another formation. We never came out the whole last because those guys prided themselves. They prided themselves in getting out, watching formation because they have studied all week on formation, down and distance, position on the field. Then they would automatically know the play. But I tell you what, buddy, there's one thing about it. You didn't have to tell me no more to study. You didn't have to tell me nothing else about formations. You didn't have to tell me nothing else about football because I was bringing it from then on, baby. And for 11 years, almost 1,500 tackles, I was bringing it. I was scared to get beat anytime.
Yeah, you used to put some hitting on them because I watched it. See, these young kids, these young fans, they have no clue the type of linebackers and defense Dallas had back in the day. I used to watch y'all knock the lights out of people, little doves flying off their head when they hit them. Oh, he hit him, he got him right there. I know they were scared coming back up that hole again.
Yes, but we feel that hole like cement mixer. You know, when you're trying to get something in a hole or something like that. That's the way we feel that hole, like cement mixers, baby. And then we tell them hello, and then after the game, we tell them goodbye and have a nice trip back home because, hey, the Cowboy defense have laid the wood, baby, laid the wood. Yes, sir.
It was a great team. Hey, Michael in the chat, he wanted to know how strong was Randy White and Ed Too Tall Jones. I mean, you hear stories, especially on Randy White, just the strength that he had. And you know, there was one story Matt Millen said when he was recruiting, he smart-mouthed Randy White at University of Maryland on a recruiting trip, and Randy White put him up against the wall with one arm and had him off his feet. I mean, he was just country strong, as they say.
Randy White was perhaps one of the strongest guys, but I'm gonna tell you, he was one of the most passionate guys about winning. I'm talking about you don't ever have to worry about. He was going to be the first one on the practice field, the last one to leave, beside me, because I was out there with him. He was going to be prepared, and man, you never saw him smile or anything. I'm talking about he was relentless about being a student of the game, but he was relentless. You know, every team had to double team him, and even with the double team, he was still making a difference. It didn't matter how many men that you put on this young man. He was going to be in the backfield, and he was going to be the reason why the Cowboys defense always won. And when you think about this, when you think about every day, like on Thursdays sometime, most of the time we would all get together, man, and at somebody's house, and we'd watch film. We wasn't going out and having toys and just having good time. Because getting to the playoff was the way that we made our money. Yeah. That's the way they organized our contract based on the Cowboys are going to the playoff. So then this is when you get paid. So those guys across the line, linebackers all over the team, knew that they had to be prepared or be at a position to be replaced. Be prepared or be replaced, because Tom Landry and those guys. But the thing about it is, the coach really didn't have to get us ready. He didn't have to get us ready. We were going to be ready, and we was hungry every week. I'm talking about for real. It's like we were starving, man. It's like the hurricane has set in, and all the food in the refrigerator had been spoiled, and we couldn't wait to get on the bus, man, and get to a hotel where we could finally eat. But we didn't eat much then because we knew that we had some Eagles. We knew that we had some Redskins. We knew that we had some Cardinals. We knew what we were going to eat at the end of the week, baby. And it was not going to be no loser. I promise you. And it wasn't going to be spoiled. We were hungry, Mike. I tell you what, boy, we was hungry, man. I'll tell you what. This defense has all the capabilities. This entire team, I think, has all the capabilities. I think and let me say this while I'm on the subject. This entire team, you know, my first podcast when I came on with you guys, you know, I was in a lot of excruciating pain. I just came out of the back surgery and things like that, and I said some things that I shouldn't have said. And I want to apologize to most of all Jerry Jones and the Cowboys for some of the things that I said so rudely, and that wasn't nowhere near Jerry Jones' fault. Jerry Jones has always been good to me, and I was a captain of the team when he first came on, and I used to fly on his little jet when we go to Arkansas and do fundraisers or he give a speech. He's one of the best motivators that I ever heard speak in my entire life. He would make you want to run through a brick wall. But because of some of the things that had happened to me, and it wasn't any of the Cowboys, it wasn't any of Jerry Jones, but it was just somebody that's affiliated that did some things that I didn't agree with, and it kind of hurt me financially. But anyway, Jerry, I am so sorry, and please forgive me for saying the things that I said, and forgive me for allowing my condition and to go out and say the things that I said on that particular day. I love you. I love the Dallas Cowboys, and I'll always be a Cowboy for the rest of my life. So again, I'm sorry. Forgive me, and hey, go Cowboys.
Yeah, and I would just echo that, and I understand exactly what you're saying. And for me, I don't think it's Jerry, kind of what you're talking about. My issue's always been with the NFL and the treatment of some of the players like yourself that paved the way
Right.
for what it is today. And I understand, hey, the game's changed, this changed. It's a huge market. There's a lot of money being made. And you've got a lot of guys that paved the way, that allowed this game to get where they're at. So my issue is never with Jerry. I think he's always done well by his players, and everything I've seen, he's sometimes loyal to a fault with some of his players. He keeps them, he gives them the contracts and this and that. Maybe not this year, but other years. But it's the NFL, because they have opportunity with all the money that they're making and generating to look at the guys like yourself, some of these other players that need assistance, need help, medical care. It's not like you're asking for paycheck, but medical care for some of the injuries that you guys had during this game. Because I mean, you guys, it was your bell rung, right? Isn't that what they used to say? You get hit, I got my bell rung.
Man,
go back there, keep playing.
Yeah, it wasn't no bell rung. It was called a concussion.
Yes.
And I know what 16 of them felt like in the NFL, because I've been suffering from it for my entire career. Again, I just went to the doctor the other day, and he said my memory loss was getting worse. And when you hear things like that, man, I don't care who you are, you become afraid, and then, man, losing your keys and locking the door behind you, don't know where you're going, and all those type of things. And you feel like you deserve so much more. But again, it had absolutely nothing to do with Jerry Jones. It didn't have anything to do with the Cowboys. It was just a representative of the Cowboys that didn't do what he was supposed to do for me, because we've been represented by the same guy. And because of that, and because of the pain, and I'll tell you one more thing. People don't know, really, when you're going through excruciating pain all day long, 24 hours a day, you become intolerable. You become short with people. You become misunderstood. And at that particular time, I was short with so many people, because I was trying to figure out, how in the world am I going to be able to sleep tonight? How am I going to be able to find some kind of comfort? How in the world am I going to be able to get up and see if I can walk tomorrow, if I can remember anything?
Yeah.
It was absolutely horrible for me. And at that particular time, I went off at the mouth, and I know I was wrong, and it's been bothering me ever since. So this gives me a chance to ask for an apology and ask for forgiveness from Mr. Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. Hey, let's go Cowboys. I love you, Jerry. I love all the Cowboys. And hey, I wish you well. Thank you so very much for forgiveness.
Yeah, no, and yeah, absolutely. And I just say, the last thing I'd say is, anyone watch the story on Jim McMahon. I mean, Jim McMahon, Super Bowl champion with the Bears. And I mean, he took a lot of bad hits. Some quarterbacks took a lot of bad hits back in the day. And he suffers from a lot of CTE, and he can't drive. He doesn't know where he's at sometimes. It's just really, it's scary. So, that's why these guys, man, you got to be able to help. You got to help the ones that paved the way. So I think it's only fair, but we won't drag that out. But talking about, what are you up to these days? You look good. You're feeling good. I think you did some appearances. I think you have something going on, a relay. You got some stuff you're a speaker of. I mean, what's going on?
Well, I've been named the honorary chair of this Hopeful Heart 5K and 1M Stampede over in Carrollton. And I'll tell you, it's a benefit that's absolutely awesome. It's been going on for some time now. And once you walk into these guys' facilities, you can see how these guys really, they help the homeless tremendously. And they do it with dignity. They have people there, man, that absolutely love what they do. They're like the Cowboy fan. The Cowboy fan love the Cowboys. These Cowboy fans and these people that work over here at NCCA, they do an excellent job. And when someone comes in off the street and they're homeless, they don't just give them a bag of food or bag of groceries. They allow them to have some dignity, to go over and get a basket, and they be able to walk down the line, right down each aisle, pick out what they want, walk down the other aisle, this aisle, go into a packed refrigerator and get the frozen food, the canned food. And I'm talking about go up to a cash register and walk out of there with some dignity. These people are, this is perhaps, and I've been doing this 28 years. This is one of the best organizations that I've been a part of for my entire life. They absolutely are the #1 charity organization here that I've been a part of. And I've been doing this a long time, but they do it well. Not only do they do the feeding of them, at Christmas time, they allow the kids to come in. They allow the parents to come in and get toys for their kids and to wrap them up themselves and take them home to the kids. And you hear the kids say, my favorite store is going to CCA. And man, I tell you, it just makes your heart yearn for more and more love and more people to give the way they're doing. So this 5K run is September 28th. It's over in Louisville. It's 200 South Mill Street in Louisville, Texas. And we're definitely taking donations from anyone who wants to go on and do it, to go on and be a part of this successful event. And I promise you, every dime, it doesn't go to a staff. It goes directly to those people that are in need. And I promise you, man, this is something awesome. This is absolutely awesome. I was looking for an email address on this deal, and I'll show you what it looks like. That's what it looks like.
I know you sent me a picture. They're going to send me a graphic, but we'll definitely get that out on the channel. We'll get it out on Twitter. We'll spread the word. And hey, it's during football season, so it's a great time.
Yes,
because you're going to be partying and eating the nachos and eating all the chicken wings and all the other stuff. So
this is an
opportunity for you to get in shape too. So you join the run, you donate, have a good time.
Man, I tell you what, if you got to feel your heart, and it's on September 28th on a Saturday, and I'll be there. I don't know if I'm gonna run no 5 miles. I don't know, but I know one thing: I'm gonna be a good honorary chairman for him. I can tell him that for sure. But man, it's been great talking to you guys. I have another appointment I have to go to. Man, Mike, I love you very much, man. Let's talk about your cameo, and I'll get you some more information on this honorary heart stampede, because I promise you this. Your life will never be the same once you see this organization, once you see what they're all about. But again, go Cowboys. Thank you, Jerry, for everything that you've done for me. Mike Tag, you're a wonderful friend. I love you guys. You too, my brother. Hold your head up high and let's get hungry, baby. Let's get hungry.
And I hope, because I'll be in Texas for the game on the 22nd of September. Hopefully we can get together, man, so I can get to meet you in person and let my wife meet you, man. So
we'll do that, my friend. I'll be everywhere Mike be. I promise you. Whenever you come to Dallas, Texas, Eugene Lockhart will be there.
All right, then. I can't wait to meet you, man.
I'd like to say hello to my girls in Houston, Zibby, and I'd like to say hello to Tasha and Carolyn, Tony, all of them. I want to say hello to all you guys. I know I'm missing the name, but it's sorry. Charge to my head and not my heart. I know you guys are watching. I love you guys very much. God bless you and God keep you. Go Cowboys. Go Cowboys. Go Cowboys. Get hungry.
We're hungry. We want to be hungry in this place.
See you guys later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. All right, man. That was Eugene, man. It's good to see. I hadn't seen him. We talk a lot on the phone, but we haven't been able to get him in here in the cave. So it's always good to get him in there. And appreciate you guys hanging. We're going to talk for a little bit, but that tailgate is going to be lit. I'm telling you, it's going to be a good time. We're going to have some people coming out there. I mean, maybe Teague. I've been talking to Teague. Maybe Teague might be popping his head over there. Maybe, maybe a 15. Maybe some family members of 15 might be coming by to say, hey, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Greg's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Kelly's going to be there. Cuts is going to be there. Doug and everybody, Steven. I mean, we got a lot of stuff going on. Jeff, I'm sure, is going to be there. So hopefully you guys make it a point. It's just, like I say, on the tailgate party, man, it's just about having fun. We're going to be, grilling up a little bit and have some drinks, just have a lot of fun and get this season really kicked off. Now, we should beat the Saints' ass at home. That's really our home opener. We got to beat their ass. But the Ravens, we need to be coming out and be ready. We don't want to overlook the Saints. No, we don't want to overlook Cleveland. But it would be nothing sweeter for the Cowboys to send a message against Baltimore. And the beauty is, I haven't seen them lose at AT&T. Well, knock on wood, in a very long time. So we're gonna keep that thing going. And you haven't seen them lose at AT&T, have you?
No. Well, other than that playoff game that pissed us off with Green Bay.
I'm talking about you haven't in person.
No. Matter of fact, each game that I've been to, they actually won. So I'm hoping the streak goes on. But at the same time, I met this guy today, Rodney Wallace. I know he's out there watching because I told him about the cave, told him to check it out. So I know Rodney Wallace watching. I know his friend Adolphus is probably watching. So if y'all on there, feel free to come in on the comments, subscribe. It's free. And check it out every time you get an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, man, we got 150 between Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. So I need you guys to slide over to YouTube because what's happened is I've opened this thing up to kind of to the world, right? Because I love it. And we get a lot of people hanging on Twitter and on Facebook, but we need to get some love we need to get you guys to show more love on YouTube. I mean, it's nice. We appreciate it. We just love talking, so it don't matter. But anytime you can get over to YouTube and subscribe, like, and share, it spreads the word, man. We love doing the show and getting some people in. We still got some stuff going on. And it's like I told you guys, we got to change the mentality of this team. And I think, Greg, the Cave has done their job. We've brought in Super Bowl champions, multiple Super Bowl champions, like a Kevin Gogan, a Moose Johnson's been in here. We've had Tony Thrill Hill. You got Eugene Lockhart. We're bringing all these guys into the Cave with some Super Bowl rings and some jewelry, some hardware, some winning mentality. We're trying to feed that in to these Cowboys because we got the talent. I mean, don't tell me we don't have the talent to compete. We just got to get it done when it matters the most. Now, there was Kevin Gogan said something pretty interesting, and I know you were listening a little bit, and I don't know if you caught it. We're talking about Dak Prescott. And the question that I asked him, honestly, was, you're a player, you're a lineman for your quarterback. What if this was, what if this was Troy Aikman? What if this was, could this affect the locker room, a contract issue where you're not extending your franchise quarterback? I mean, he was very candid, and he thinks the world of Dak, and he's a good quarterback, but he hasn't delivered. If he got him to some championships, got a ring on, maybe that's a different story. But maybe on that last year of the contract, I mean, you're getting guys to maybe play with a little pressure, a little bit of urgency, a little bit of uneasy feeling, and be uncomfortable a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And maybe that brings out the best. But I mean, what's your thoughts on the Dak Prescott? Are you kind of to the point to where, all right, don't worry about signing him. If they sign him, they sign him. If not, they not. I mean, where are you at with it today?
No, I'm not like that. I'm all in on Dak because Dak reminds me of Romo when it comes to how their career went and how close we would get from time to time. And then something in the first round would either knock us out or the team, because the team didn't show up, or in the Green Bay game with Romo, when the referees made that bad call and it wasn't a touchdown, we would have been going to Seattle. But the issue is, I think Dak and Romo are the epitome of the quarterbacks that came after Aikman and Staubach that had just what it took to take us to the Super Bowl and win, but for unforeseen circumstances, the rest of the team to collectively wasn't as accountable as the teams in the past and didn't quite get there. As far as Dak, I'd like us to keep Dak at least 2 more years, because if you look at Dak's numbers, Dak's at the top of the NFL quarterbacks. Dak's doing what Dak needs to do. And I keep going back to that Green Bay game in the playoff because everybody target Dak. The defense gave up 40-something points. And I wish everybody worldwide in the Dallas Cowboys fandom would understand Dak didn't lose that game. 1 pick six and then set up another one where they intercept and get a touchdown later. Dak didn't lose that game. The defense. I watched every play. I watched every defensive back, linebacker. When Green Bay got those passes for a touchdown, nobody was around them. A fan was probably the closest. And people got to get out of their head that every time something goes wrong with the Cowboys, it's Dak. Quit always affecting that low-hanging fruit because it's right in front of your face. Look at the game. See where the problems happen. If Dak was the problem, then he was the problem for that game. But look at the game and realize where the issues are. And then you'll realize when it comes to draft, free agency, what we really need to do to bring in those plug-and-play players. I say that because one thing that could have helped the entire team last year was during the season, Philadelphia, Kansas City, a few other teams, they plugged and played somebody throughout the season. Let's go get this guy in week 6 from so-and-so. Okay, week 8, week 9, let's go get this guy. They knew where they had weaknesses as the season prevailed, and they went and got guys to come in and fill those positions, and that's what got them in the playoffs deep, and that's what got them in the Super Bowl. We didn't do that. During the season, we said what we have is what we have. Free agency, what we have is what we have. By the way, we needed a running back. We needed a linebacker. Lewis was having to come up and play linebacker. He's a safety. You know, some of those things that I see, and maybe because I'm old school and I go way back with the Cowboys, and I really look at the Cowboys to see what it is that's affecting our wins and losses. And a lot of people, this generation, years after me, has always, it's the quarterback. Quarterback, no matter what team it is, it's the quarterback. Well, the quarterback can't play all the positions. And as far as Dak, I'm in on Dak. I'm in. When Dak's wrong, Dak's wrong. But Dak is not our problem. We need to shore up that defensive line, get some linebackers back there. And Eugene said it perfectly. They have to be accountable. If they're accountable, that means they're watching the next person saying, I'm playing my behind off because I don't want to make D-Law be the one have to do it. I'm playing my behind off because I don't want Michael to have to do it. But the mentality I thought I was seeing was, well, I don't have to play hard today because D-Law going to play hard. Well, D-Law might be thinking, I ain't going to play that hard today because Michael going to play hard. Michael might be thinking, man, I don't have to worry about putting everything on the field because guess what? Lewis going to be hard. If everybody's thinking the same way, nobody's playing. And that's what it looked like in Green Bay. So give Dak 2 seasons. And Dak is going to continue to feel the pressure. It's nothing new to him because he gets it from the fans. He gets it from everybody because we're the most visible team in the NFL. Everybody loves the lovers. They love the haters. So, and one of the most successful organizations. But if Dak doesn't get it done in 2 years, Jerry, y'all got to be smart about the next quarterback. Don't go get a baseball player. Don't get somebody on cheap. Be ready to get somebody to step in because I guarantee you, if Dak leaves us after this year, Dak's going to be on the team that's going to go to the playoffs because that team is going to say, this is what we got to put around Dak.
Yeah.
This is what we got to put on the defense and watch Dak go somewhere, go deep like we didn't. And guess what all our fans are going to say? Not all, but a lot of them. Dak did it with them, but he couldn't do it with us. Watch and see what they put around Dak and see if he does it. So we need to keep Dak. We need to keep Dak. Let's just plug up those holes where we need them. Get a running back, defensive lineman, like Gene said, somebody to come right up that middle when we need them, a couple of more linebackers, and let's go. Let's go.
Well, now you got me thinking we need Dak. You know, I waffled when I talked to people. Some people they kind of changed my mind. You got me back on the Dak train. I mean, I'm with whoever's under center. I'm supporting. So, and I think Dak's a talented quarterback. I wish in the big moments, that's what worries me. I'd say, and when you said Romo, it was the same thing. The big moments, it seems to get them. But I just want to say something. Anybody who's watching the show that didn't start with us, let's just say, and you missed Eugene Lockhart's very first appearance. He told a story, and my man Chris, I think it was Chris, or was it Jeff? I'm trying to find it. He had said that we need somebody there. Where is it at? Yeah. Jeff had said it. Some of these guys need to go in the shower, like with Randy and Ed Tuttle.
Yeah.
Eugene gave a PG, or I'd even say a G version of the story. Go back and watch the original, and it's I'd probably say, I don't know if it's R, but it might be NC-17 version of the story. But when you hear that story, you understand why he's the hitting machine and he was focused. But, you know, all kidding aside, definitely check it out. Seriously, if you had, I think I even did a clip of it where you can, if you just want to watch like a 5-minute bit of it, it's there. But something he said was important because I wanted to ask him that because the way this team is set up, the way that their philosophy is, a lot of pressure is going to be on this draft class. And it's going to be on the last draft. They expect their draft class to be impact right from the start. And we saw it not happen in there you go. You got some love there, Greg.
Thank you, Holly Terror.
Preach on in there.
Holy Terror.
But you got to be prepared. And that's where I would say we need our rookies, unfortunately, to play like veterans. Like I would say Overshown. Overshown is coming back from it. He's vital. I always mess up his name, but the Notre Dame linebacker with the great hair, he's going to play a part. If this team is successful, he's going to have to play a good part on this defense. Nealon, a lot is going to be asked of Nealon. He's going to have to play a big part. You flip it to the offensive side. You got Guyton. He's going to have to play a big part. BB, whether it's depth or whether he wins that starting center job, I think Hoffman's going to have something to say about it, but he's going to be needed. I mean, we need a Schoonmaker who did nothing last year. They're going to need something out of him. I mean, these rookies and second-year guys, they've got to step up or this team is going to have a hard time being successful and getting to where they need to go. Do you agree?
No, I totally agree but the best thing for this draft class that's going to help them is Mike Zimmer.
Yeah.
Mike, this is probably the best defensive line coach, coordinator, these young guys coming right out of college need to have when they come to the Cowboys, as I call it, school. Because coming to the Cowboys under all of that auspices of everybody watching you, the paparazzi and everything, and then you got somebody, Dan Quinn, who I highly respect, but Dan Quinn, his level of zoning in and discipline without even having to say a word is far from Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer is a businessman. Mike Zimmer is about you do your job or I will replace you. These young guys need something like that coming into this league on defense. And when they come in under Zimmer, what Zimmer's going to teach them and show them, and that, I hate to say it, respectful fear that they're going to have for them, believe me, I think the rookies that we picked up in the last 2 years that on the defense that we felt didn't quite show their name. Coming under Zimmer, I think we're going to start seeing the best out of those guys. And we're going to say, see, we knew you had it. We knew that's what you were about. But under Zimmer, they got no choice. Yeah. And they know under Zimmer, man, this guy's a disciplinary. I guarantee you right now, Mike, those rookies and those guys from last year that we got picked up in the last 2 years on defense, I bet they've been calling around, hey, man, what's up with this Mike Zimmer? Tell me. And I know they talk to somebody, man, all I can say is you better bring it. You better bring it because Mike Zimmer don't play. And then you in the league for a reason. And blah, 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 blah. You better believe that's happening. And when, I love that pick with Mike Zimmer because I'm a disciplined type guy. I'm, not, disrespectful and all that, step on people's dignity. But I'm like, you want to be here. You want it to be here. Now show me you want it to be here in everything you do. Accountability, responsibility, and do your job. These guys got it. Like you said, we got the talent. We got the size. We got guys on defense that if you line them up, you'll say, man, look at all that talent. But where has half of them been the last season? There's something to be said about the relationship with those guys and the defensive coordinator and what level of discipline and accountability was bestowed on them by Dan Quinn during the season versus how Mike Zimmer's going to do. Mike Zimmer's going to get the best out of these guys. And if he can't get the best out of them, Jerry's not going to let Mike Zimmer go right away. Jerry's going to say, Mike, what do you think? Jerry, he ain't cutting it. And when they start seeing that, guess what the next one? First one gets cut that hasn't been stepping up. The next one's going to go home, sleep that night, and come back. He's going to come on. He's going to come back with laces tied up, ready to go. He'll probably be there early in the morning. Like Gene said, he'll be there early in the morning with his helmet on, listening to the crows croak and waiting for everybody else to get on the practice field.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And any guys come late to the party, Greg isn't Eugene Lockhart. We just want to make sure you guys know that Eugene Lockhart was on. He was on for about 40 minutes. We said goodbye to him, but had a great time. So if you missed Eugene, you want to rewind it back when the show's over and check it out.
Eugene, man.
Eugene always he always brings it. I love my man Mark making it, but Chris, I've talked about it. And I appreciate you hanging with us, Chris. I like Zimmer I think a defensive guy needs to be on the sideline. I never liked it. And I mean, we can go back and look at the tape. I do not like defensive coordinators up in the booth. I think defense is a game of emotions. And I think as a coordinator, your job is really to motivate. Those guys should be prepared, but it's really to put a foot in someone's ass if they're not doing right. I mean, you've seen Bill Belichick in Patriot games, and he's a head coach. He would grab the defensive line or linebackers, whatever it was, whatever unit it was. If they weren't playing well, he would get in there and he'd coach them up. And I just think as the leader of that defense, they take the personality of their leader, right? So if Zimmer's the leader, they're going to have some attitude. I think that's the missing piece to this defense is just some dog. And in Kason, your friend who's a personal trainer and he's worked with a lot of athletes. I mean, that's the one thing he kept saying. And they've just got to get it. They've got to be enough's enough. We're not taking this shit no more. And we're gonna be the bully. It's almost when Kevin Gogan was on Tuesday night. I was, I did a little research on him, and one of the things he had said was he'd like to bully the bullies. Yeah. If you had a guy out there that was kind of picking on one of the little guys or picking on the special teams guy, something, he would go in. Now this isn't legal, but he'd go in and give him a low shot and a message to him. But you go back to that CeeDee Lamb, and I go back to that playoff game. CeeDee Lamb gets pushed in the back of the head by the cornerback. Nobody does anything. No. Nobody goes up and cracks this guy in the back of the head, or on the next play they low cut him. And I'm not saying that's hey, that's life. I mean, you got to deal with the consequences if you're going to do that. And we just would let guys push us around, and I just don't understand it.
Well, Mike, several things on that. The reason why they didn't, some of them don't retaliate like that because the league has changed the rules almost. If you even look at a guy funny, flag, so some of them probably realize I don't want to get involved in that. But going back to the coordinator being upstairs instead of downstairs, you're absolutely right. The emotions that a player gets out of that coach when he's on the sideline, when he comes off that field, knowing he's got to face him. When he comes off that field, had a good play, and that emotional gratitude that comes from that defensive coordinator, those mean a lot. But I think Dan Quinn's position on doing that had nothing to do with trying to leave the emotion out, which is critical because we need that. I think Dan Quinn was able to see the field better from the skybox, because when you're looking down on the field and you see a play evolve and you can see what they're doing, it's easy to radio down and say, listen, I can see it up here. I can see every aspect from the drone level, so to speak, and I can see where they're pulling Lewis this way or whatever. So that I can understand. But what Mike Zimmer does, and I don't think Mike Zimmer's going to be upstairs. Mike Zimmer wants.
No, he's on the field. He don't ever go upstairs. He's on the field.
Mike Zimmer has one hell of assistant defensive coordinator, and if that person is upstairs.
They'll have someone. They always have a guy up there.
If they're of like minds, they'll be able to tell Mike, what did you see? And tell Mike what they saw. And then Mike knows his own game, but Mike knows how to complement that down on the field. Because when those guys come off that field this year, they're not going to have to look up there or get on the phone and talk to Dan Quinn. It's totally different talking to somebody on the phone versus seeing them emotionally when you come off the field. They come off the field, they know they did something wrong. You know how the helmet goes down and they kind of peep up. Where's he at? Oh, Lord, he's coming at me. And when they follows them to the bench, telling them what you done and what you haven't done, that right there will put an impact on a person far worse than somebody on the phone telling them, because nobody else sees it.
Yeah.
Nobody else sees it. The rest of the players see it. The rest of the players feel it. And guess what? He's speaking to this player, but the rest of them feel like he's speaking to them too, because they know what they got to look forward to when he come off that field.
Yeah. And let's talk Al Harris. I mean, Al Harris, easy story on Al Harris. We grew up in the same area, and we graduated the same year. he was at a rival high school, and he was a damn good athlete, and and put a hurting on our teams. But he was a great kid. Actually, his name is I forgot what his name is. It's not Al. It's a longer name. It's been so long. But anyway, he is another guy that is critical, and I was so happy that they were able to retain him and not, and he didn't leave. But he's been so critical to this secondary and what he's been able to do and elevate Bland. And I still think, what you're going to see with Diggs is going to be even better. But Mike Zimmer was he started out in the Cowboys. He was a secondary, he was a secondary coach in the Super Bowl 30 season under Dave Campos. So, I mean, he knows secondary. I think I saw in there Terrence Newman. Terrence Newman had a solid career with the Cowboys. I mean, he wasn't a Hall of Famer, but he made a couple Pro Bowls, and he was a solid. I mean, they didn't bust on that first round pick
for years after Dallas.
Oh yeah, he's like 40 years old playing.
Yeah, still solid. Yeah, but I tell you, man, I was so glad when I heard, because I was like, who are we gonna get for defense coordinator? Don't get a young guy that we don't know anything about. We need some. See, I hate saying this, but my 30 years in the Air Force, when I achieved the top, Chief Master Sergeant, through those years, because of my father was in the Air Force, I learned discipline and accountability like you wouldn't believe it. And in the Air Force, I always felt that way. Guys, we're here to do a job. Let's do it. You have fun when you have it, but let's do it. And you said something earlier, which it's almost like it was the epitome of what a leader was in the Air Force. You said players will take on the mentality of a leader, a good leader. And that's what I would see. There were times where some of my troops or airmen, as we call them, would be like doing something. I said, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And look, and then you hear people walk around talking about, Chief, that's little neighbors. And that's your little neighbors over here. And I was teaching them the right way, and they saw it. Because I used to say, never take a shortcut. Because if you learn a shortcut, that's all you're going to know. And the shortcuts never get you anywhere. Learn it the right way, do it the right way, and never think otherwise. And then it becomes natural, and it's no work because you're already doing it the right way. That leadership that some of these guys are going to take on when they see Zimmer, that's going to make them leaders, is going to make an impact like you don't believe. Everybody's like, what is Dallas going to look like this year? Defense, what are we going to put in? Well, all I can tell you is the most valuable defensive player that the Dallas Cowboys picked up in the offseason is Mike Zimmer. That's the most valuable defensive person we picked up in the offseason, because what he's going to do to get those guys together and bring their A game instead of like, well, I'm looking for paparazzi, my brand. It's going to be tremendous. And I think our defense is going to be so much better against the run. They're going to be so much better running around that field, getting hungry and running after these players and coming off the field, high-fiving each other than we ever saw, because they got to face Mike Zimmer. And no airman ever want to have to come back and have to face the Chief.
Now, let me tell you this. I don't want to start a military war of, division, in the service, but Mark he's disciplined in the Air Force. He's laughing at that. He didn't say there's, now Mark's a veteran. Yeah. And you're going to meet Mark. He is probably one of the best people I ever met. Just one of the nicest guys. And I always tell the story, but I'll tell it again for anyone that hadn't heard. When we did our first Cowboys Cave last year, I'm on here and this and that. And the guy, Mark, said, I'm going to pick you up at the airport. We'll get you in. And I'm like, oh, sure. And I tell my wife, yeah, some guy, Mark, is going to pick me up. She goes, who's he? I said, I don't know. Kelly vouched for him. So he's got to be a good guy, right? If Kelly vouched for him. And he picked me up at the airport. We went and had breakfast together. It was like a sitcom, right? We just hung out. We went to Lowe's together. We waited until we got Kelly, and he's been a great friend of mine, and always love seeing him. But he's dogging your Air Force. He's it's either Army or Marines.
He's either Army or Marines, but it doesn't matter because we all do it to each other. We do it to the Army. We do it to the Army. We do it to the Marines. We do it to the Navy. It's all love.
Army.
As much as I love Air Force, you'll never get on me. You'll never get me on this end. Oh, the Army this, because my whole career in 30 years, I worked with everybody. I was on Navy ships, Navy destroyers. I was with the Army. I was with the Navy. I was on Marines I used to work with. I work with all of them because it's all the same thing. But we all have our little cracks about each service.
Oh, yeah.
So,
No.
But to you, I salute you. It ain't who, it's been with y'all, man. Been there, know that, writ the script. Air Force still fly guys because we aim high.
Well, hey, we got a super chat from the Lunatic, so we appreciate it. This is the $1 million question. I've asked this of former players that have come into the show. I've asked this of even younger guys that coach. You know, we've had Malik Rozier on a little bit from the U, and he coaches a lot of high school quarterbacks and gets his trainer and this and that. Two different generations, right? Will Zimmer's tough love work? And what I would just say, and I'd really love to get your opinion on it, is, Greg, is great players want to be pushed.
Yes.
If you're great, you want to be pushed. If you're one of these guys that's kind of borderline, you're probably going to have a problem with it. But I would say, do you really want that guy by your side and you want to go in the, you know, in the trenches with him in the foxhole? So I would say that's my thought on it. Greg, any different with because there is a generational difference.
It's a generational difference, but at the end of the day, you're either in the league or you're out the league. And you could talk about your brand. See, here's what Zimmer has going for him. Jerry Jones. Jerry ain't gonna sit back if Zimmer comes to him and says, look, I'm just gonna make up a name. Ted is, I know you drafted him 2 seasons ago and you draft him high, but look, Ted's not cutting it, Jerry. Ted's not cutting it. He's not doing it. He's not even picking it up. My defensive assistant coach, he knows it. Other players know it. He is a ball and chain. Jerry's not gonna say, well, you know, give him a chance. And that Jerry, because Jerry wants to win too. Jerry's gonna take Mike Zimmer's recommendations and he's gonna run with them. And they know that. See, if you have a supervisor and these people know that they can go around that supervisor when the supervisor puts discipline on and says, you're not doing your job, I think I might need to fire or suspend you. But they can go around them to the owner and the owner does something otherwise, you've lost credibility. Jerry's not going to do that. Jerry's not going to undercut Mike Zimmer. And Mike Zimmer's not just going to pick on players. Mike Zimmer wants to win. And he has a reputation to uphold. Mike Zimmer, believe it or not, Mike Zimmer still zests to be a head coach somewhere, a head coach. But he knows he has the skills to mold the defense to play they need the way they need to play. So all this money, brand, and all this offshoot stuff they got, they can keep doing that. But I can tell you one thing, Mike Zimmer is going to make sure if you're not playing the game the way you're supposed to be playing, your brand is going to suffer. Because if you're not with the Cowboys, everybody knows if Mike Zimmer couldn't get that guy to step up, why do we want him over here? So Mike Zimmer is key. I just can't wait to see that defense come out there in prime time when he's ready to put them on the field and which starting 11 he's going to put out there, because his level of discipline and respect is going to resonate. And exactly what you said is what I see happening. And those players that just don't get it because, you know, I got a anger management problem, or you ain't going to tell me this. Well, guess what? You can sit on the sideline. You can put your helmet on at your house and you can watch and hope your agent can find a team for you to play on. And then when you play with them, they got the keys. You know, these coaches, they keep statistics. They watch TV. They know how you are. So don't think you're going to leave. Oh, Mike Zimmer, you know, he wasn't fair. He wasn't. Man, they're going to say, man, do you understand Mike Zimmer's been in this league longer than you or your parents been born? Mike Zimmer's among the top of head coaches, defensive coordinators ever to be in the game. You are lucky that you had the opportunity to be under his tutelage. And if you can't accept that, we don't want you. Tell your agent to go find somebody else.
Yeah, no. And it was mentioned, the chat is funny. They're working out rides for the tailgate party. So I do like them working together. It's a family event. So we definitely help out, man, if you guys are going to the tailgate party. But bringing in Greg Ellis. Greg Ellis, another guy. He's always going to be. Greg Ellis is unfortunately going to be remembered as the guy the Cowboys took instead of Randy Moss, but Greg Ellis had a very solid NFL career. He reminded me without the Super Bowls, he was like the Tony Tolbert, right? Tony
Yeah.
Tolbert was
Yeah.
kind of the quiet guy that got all the sacks, but Charles Haley got all the attention.
Yeah,
And
a lot of people don't
rightfully
remember him.
so, a Hall of Famer. But Greg Ellis has been a coach. He's been coaching in college. He's been doing some stuff. So I think that's another nice hire getting Greg Ellis in. He's familiar with Mike Zimmer, and so I think that's another. I love the defensive coaching staff that they've assembled for this team, and just got to get results. So to me, it's defense, and we're going to get into a lot of the trenches. We're going to have a show about the trenches and talk about the offense and offensive line more. But I just think it's the defense is going to be very, very, very critical. So
the defense number one is our defense. So our defense, because way back in the Staubach days, coming on up, even in the Aikman days, what was Dallas known for? Defense. Defense. That's why I'm old school as I am. I still don't understand why the majority of the defensive players for the Dallas Cowboys, the starters, aren't in the Hall of Fame. It's just maybe it was just too many of them. They didn't want to put them all
here. I mean, we're gonna have Tony Hill on again. We gotta get that thing lined up. But I've said it for years, and I'm gonna work on getting him on the show one of these days. But he's a quiet guy, but maybe I'll talk him into it. But Ed Too Tall Jones, I think it's criminal he's not in the Ring of Honor at the very least. I'll just say that. You can't say Dallas Cow. Like, if you say Too Tall, that's all you got to say.
That's it.
I mean, that's it. You don't talk about NFL history without Ed Too Tall Jones. His numbers were phenomenal. A lot of people don't get to see it because sacks and things like that were not an official stat until like 82, but he had over 100 if you go back and count them all. The thing is, tip passes, batted balls, all that kind of stuff that he got at the defensive line. His forced fumbles that he had, I think, is one of the top in NFL history. I mean, he was unstoppable. He was unstoppable. And how he's not at least in the ring. He was the longest tenured Cowboy of games until Jason Witten broke it. I mean, he's Dallas Cowboys. Ed Too Tall Jones is Dallas Cowboys. I cannot believe he's not in the Ring of Honor at minimum, but should be in the Hall of Fame. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, he blocked the lights in the stadium when he went up. If you watch him play, when he's jumped up to either block a play or get over offensive lineman had to look up to the moon. And I've always wondered, is it because, and there's only two reasons that I wonder, is it because we had so many players that were so good on the Dallas Cowboys that the Hall of Fame is just not recognizing them, and then as the years went by, people don't talk about them much? Or is there something that went on in the undercurrent with the organization after Jerry took over that these guys may have said or something like that? I don't know what it is, but those are the only two reasons I can think maybe why some of those aren't in the Ring of Honor at a minimum, because it's undefensible that Ed Too Tall Jones is not.
And Harvey Martin, going without saying too. We can go on with a list. Harvey Martin, Too Tall Jones, Leroy Jordan, Charlie Waters. I think he still has the NFL record for interceptions in the postseason. Tony Hill is one of those guys that he doesn't get appreciated. Throw his numbers up against some of the other ones in his era. Tony Hill is another guy that just doesn't get the love. There's some linemen. I'll make the argument. Eric Williams.
Oh, most definitely.
If you're going to put Baselli in, you better put Eric Williams in. If you're putting Terrell Davis in, you better put Eric Williams in. Darren Woodson, how's he not? There's so many.
I think Woodson to get in this next time, because what I've seen back when the Chris Carter was being put in and then denied. There's this NFL beat guy. You know him. His name is King. What's his name?
Peter King.
Peter King. Yeah. I have no respect for Peter King, because first of all, you don't give these journalists a vote. And Peter King was mad at Chris Carter because Chris Carter wouldn't talk to him. Or when he said something, and I remember him on an NFL show on CBS one time. He said, "I'll never vote for Chris Carter." Well, this ain't about you, Peter King. It ain't about your emotions. These guys played. You didn't play, but you don't want to vote for him because of some nonsense, because he pissed you off. He messed your ego has got soft. I'll never respect Peter King. Every time I see him, the only thing I think about is Chris Carter, how he did him wrong. And Chris Carter eventually got in. But what I noticed around that era with Chris Carter is players started to bring these names up a lot more, or they put them in broadcasting, or they featured them a lot. And you always heard them talking about them more to get everybody in the public, to get everybody in the NFL, to get the journalists to start hearing their names. And next thing you know, they're in the Hall of Fame. Therefore, if these other guys, the Too Tall Jones, if people start bringing his name up a lot, people start having cameos with Too Tall and Martin and all these guys, I guarantee you they'll get on the ballot. But the NFL selectors, these guys came, a lot of these came after that generation. They don't look back. They look at what's been happening recently. You know, you got more first ballot Hall of Famers that have been out of the league maybe 5 or 6 years than you ever had going in the Hall of Fame back during the era of the 70s when they played and coming out, and then 5 years later. It took them 10, 15, 20 years. Now, soon as they come out, 5 years later, their first ballot. Wait a minute. It's been 20 years or so. Where's Ed Too Tall? You ain't even mentioned him. But it's because of the mentality of these guys hadn't been around at that time. They don't think like that. So the players got smart. They start bringing the names up of the Drew Pearsons, the Chris Carters, the Basellis, and a few others, and Devin Hester. They brought Devin Hester up. Everybody started talking about Devin Hester. There's no way Devin Hester shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. All the players were saying it so much, then the committee picked it up. Well, yeah, you know what? We need to put Devin Hester in there. If not these players doing it for other players and keeping their names alive, a lot of these players that are in the Hall of Fame now wouldn't even be there. Yeah.
No, I mean, and what bothers me is, you know, we had Chuck Howley's son on the show, and you know, he gets in and he's battling dementia, he's battling a lot of issues, and he's not able to enjoy it, right? And that's the part that's frustrating, because why is he a Hall of Famer today, but he wasn't last year, the year before that? And I get the whole thing, and you know, the 100-year thing was supposed to kind of right some of the wrongs and get that things going. And I understand you got to be careful because you don't want to put too many people in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's got to be the elite of the elite. But you know, the names I'll say for sure that shouldn't be any question to me would be an Ed Too Tall Jones, Harvey Martin. I mean, even I saw one in the comment, Cornell Green. Now, I didn't see Cornell Green play, but as a Cowboy fan and love the history of the Cowboys, he was another guy. You know, he was another guy that was one of these, you know, that should be looked at. But you know, it's just, and the generations are getting there, right? So these guys are. It's going to be harder for them to get in, right? Because the people now, they hadn't seen them. And it's a numbers league, right? Everyone's looking at numbers. The numbers back then will never compare, you know, especially at a receiver and you know, defense. It will if they go back and right the wrongs of the sacks. I think that will stand over time between all the eras. But the way the offense is, like you look at Tony Hill and compare him to Marvin Harrison in numbers wise, it's not even close.
No,
but
it's
if you
not.
Tony Hill and you compared him against Drew Pearson, you compared him against guys in his era, Lynn Swann, or some of, you know, stalwarts and all of those guys, he makes a pretty good case.
Well,
you
a
know?
lot of them back then, a lot of them played in shorter seasons.
Yeah,
so you couldn't get the numbers. You couldn't get the numbers because you shorter seasons. And then, like you said, some things weren't even being accountable. You look at what's his name? Los Angeles Rams. God dog, a defensive guy.
From recent or later?
No, the defensive lineman. Oh man, name
Aaron Donald. Are you talking today? Or are you talking back then?
Back in the day. I mean, he's a household name. Greg,
you're talking about Deacon Jones.
Deacon Jones.
Yeah.
Deacon Jones. They said he probably has more sacks than anybody ever in the league, but it weren't being accounted for. But they recognized that.
They recognized it
themselves and brought them into the Hall of Fame. Look at the players that are getting put in the Hall of Fame posthumously. That's a tragedy. That's a tragedy. Now you want to put them in the Hall of Fame and they're dead. And they've been dead for 20 years. What made you all of a sudden now put them in the Hall of Fame? I just don't get it, man. It's a different generation of voters. Those journalists need to be out of it. They do need to expand the number. And if they want to, build a coliseum for the Hall of Fame. And don't say, well, it's just got to be a certain number. No, if the players earned it, build something to put them in it. Period. Yeah. And they got to be there. But speaking on the Dallas Cowboys alone, those names you mentioned, Cornell Green is another Mel Renfro. Cornell Green was another Mel Renfro. You know, and then you look at Cliff Harris and Charlie Waters. Cliff Harris isn't Cliff Harris without Charlie Waters. Charlie Waters isn't Charlie Waters without Cliff Harris. Oh, he's not in there? It's a tragedy, man. I can go for days on him. I can get on the podium in front of the NFL commission and lose my mind on how they do that, man.
They need to, we got some battles going on in the chat. You know, they're fighting with each other, and we like it. We like some debate, not really fighting. They're debating.
Healthy debate, healthy.
Yeah, Micah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to read it all, but Micah is not I know they're joking, say Micah's not a leader. Yeah, a lot of people thinking Micah's not a leader. Micah's a leader. Yeah. I mean, it's a different, you can lead in different ways. I think Micah gets respect. I think Micah is a leader on the field. People are giving him crap for having a podcast or whatever. I mean, I would take him having a podcast and being out at 2 a.m, partying and stuff like that. You know, the only thing, what he says on his podcast, people have a problem with. I think what the issue is, you're not winning championships because I'll go back to Dallas in the 90s. And Greg, I know you remember the Cowboys players had about 11 of them had shows. Now they didn't have podcasts because that wasn't around, but they all had TV shows. I mean, Kenny Gann had a TV show. I mean, Jimmy Johnson had a TV show. Troy Aikman had a TV show. Yep. All these guys had TV shows. So everyone gives the perception like the Cowboys in the 90s. I was there. Greg, you were there. They were a wild bunch. I mean, Gogan talked a lot about it. He's very open. Go back to the first Gogan interview. He says a lot of the crazy stuff that was going on. Listen to James Washington we had in there. We've had a bunch of them on. I mean, these guys, Jimmy Johnson kind of kept him in check the best he could, right? He said his famous words were, at 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, I want you in a bed. I don't care whose bed it is. I just want you in a bed. Yeah. Those guys were wild. But they won championships because they put in the work and they did everything above that. And that's the difference. If the Cowboys were winning championships, no one would give two shits about Micah Parsons having a podcast.
That's exactly right. And because back then when they had all their shows, there was no internet. So everybody couldn't get access to these shows. It might have been just broadcast in Dallas.
It was just in Dallas.
Or surrounding areas. But everybody couldn't get it. So you didn't get to see the shows they had, how they were conducting themselves, promoting themselves, and then you feeling like, oh, you just lost that game against St. Louis. Now you on TV talking this because you didn't get to see them. Now, because of the internet, you can see them everywhere. And it's just the life we live. It's the times we live in. You're not going to have the same level of discipline and accountability today that you had then, but it doesn't mean that there isn't another side of discipline and accountability that's just as effective. Micah Parsons is young. He's young. He got extreme talent, but he's young. He still wants to go out there and have fun. He still wants to talk to people on his podcast. He's going to do this. He's young. Doesn't mean he's not a leader. He might not be the type of leader that you want based on the past eras, but we're in a different generation. He is a leader on that field, and he doesn't take it lightly. But what we would like to see is somebody that comes on that field that's got a mixture of old school and this new generational leader, because he can use that old school and this new generational talent of being a leader to affect everybody and meet everybody on their ground and still lead the team's success. Mike Zimmer may not have that new level of leadership skills to kind of mold around.
That's where you have that compromise a little bit. They talked about it. Because hey, how many of us got our ass whooped by our parents if we did something wrong? You ain't doing that. Like I never, I did when they were younger. I got to take that back if they did something wrong. But nowadays, for sure, most people, if you spank your kid, you go to, they want to take the kids away from you and go to jail. Yeah. It's just different. Like the generations are different. And, coaches could get in your face back then. Mm-hmm. get in your face and throw you around a little bit if you're not doing what you're told. And your parents wouldn't be running up to school and filing a complaint. I'll give a funny story of my, juvenile ways of being stupid. When I was in 9th grade, I was in a class and I had the bright idea of making paper airplanes and throwing them while the teacher's back was, to the chalkboard. And he turned around as I was throwing one and it ended up in his glasses.
Oh.
And he picked me up. I was about 90 pounds in 9th grade. I was a little kid. And he threw me through the double doors, dragged me down to the office and threw me against the wall into the principal's office. And then when he realized what he did, he started kind of like backing up and flipping out like, oh shit, like here's, I just kind of assaulted this kid a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so they called my parents in and I'll never forget it. The guy's like, I'm sorry. My dad said, he does it again, beat his ass. You'll never hear a word from me. And that's when I realized I'm in trouble. I got to straighten myself out. So it was just a different discipline. Like my daughter plays flag football and I was watching this mother go just yelling at this lady, the coach, because her daughter wasn't playing enough.
Yeah.
And I could hear the coach said, well, she wasn't at practice and she doesn't go to practice, so she's not playing. And the mother didn't accept that. Well, she had to do this and she had to do that. And I felt for the coach because my mentality was that she shouldn't be on the team. If she can't practice, she's not playing, period.
Yeah.
But that's the mentality. Like, so I guess what I'm saying, I'm trying to make a point to it is some of these kids were grown up, like today's kids were grown up with that parent that, the kids can do no wrong. And it's just a different generation. That's why I say the great ones, they want to be pushed.
Yes.
They want the ones that like the example I gave you, that coach, if it's that kind of kid or that kind of person, they're going to fold under Mike Zimmer.
Yep.
The strong ones are going to survive and they're going to thrive. And he's had players that didn't like him in the beginning. And Kevin Gogan kind of talked about it with Jimmy Johnson. He wasn't a Jimmy Johnson fan early, but when he started looking back, he's like, he had the way and he followed the way, and he wasn't ashamed to admit that he made a mistake early on in his career. So I'm just saying it's the mentality is just, it's changed.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see who's the strong survive, which guys are going to fold, because there's going to be some that fold.
Yeah. Most definitely. And if they do, they do, because I don't want to see them on the field. And, when you say players want to be pushed, they do, because these young players know they have the talent, they have the skills, but they don't have the experience. And they know a good coach can give them that experience and put them through it. They want that. They're hungry for that. And when you hear them talk, they'll say, I want to bring everything and I want to learn everything I can. And under this coach, he's been here. Yeah, I know I can learn. They're going to learn so much valuable knowledge and get that experience under Mike Zimmer that they would have never been exposed to in about 25 or 26 other teams in the league. And once they get that, they're going that talent they have is going to multiply and it's going to make them a much better person. And then they're going to be all pros. Now this Falcon, I'm see if I'm pronouncing it right. Falcon. Now the problem with Falcon is he's a Michigan guy. So right off the bat, we got problems. He mentioned something about does a leader bring other players to different workouts to help them improve? Do they get a step to make sure? He's arguing with the chat because there might have been a question about Micah's leadership skills, I think. But part of that has credence in if these coaches are able to bring in some of these other players that have played in the past, like Eugene Lockhart, some of these other Haley. They bring Charles Haley. He'll be there. He comes. Bring them in and let them ring these guys' ears. It can only serve to help them. It can only serve to help. And Mike Zimmer knows some of these guys because a lot of these guys played under Zimmer. So if they can bring those guys in, because if they got somebody on the team and says, look, let's get somebody on this team to reach out to some of these former players, specific former players that got that drive and that discipline and the hunger and whatever. And let's reach out and see if we can't organize these guys and bring them in for a session You know, it could be 30-minute session or whatever, but let's bring them in maybe every 5 or 6 practice days at the end of training camp. Let's bring them in and then have them on the sideline, you know, and I think that can serve to help, because with Mike Zimmer's generational experience and those guys, you put that together from the players and Mike Zimmer, I think that can only serve to help Dallas through these times of this new generational talent and their outside noise. It can keep them focused on winning, because apparently 49ers, they don't have a problem being focused on winning, and Philadelphia Eagles don't. And
they got a problem focusing on winning Super Bowls, though. Let's not give them too much credit.
But what do you think about Brandon Ayuk possibly being available now? I'm kind of like, you know, he's a first line wide receiver. I know we don't have the money to go get him.
No, they're not.
Could he wind up on the Giants or the Commanders?
He could. San Francisco's not going to trade him. They're not going to trade him.
They would be smart not to.
They're not going to trade him.
If they do, it won't break my heart.
Yeah. No, I'd be happy if they got rid of him. I was telling my buddy at lunch he doesn't get the accolades that he probably deserves, but I watch, you know, we watch a lot of 49er games, their NFC and yada. I mean, he's a big part of their offense. I mean, I know it runs through CMC, but he's a big part. Couple things, Falk, we will set up. Now, I'm in a college football dynasty league, and my man Nix took Miami, so I got stuck with Clemson, but Clemson's all right. So, you know, Falk's Michigan, so he got his favorite team, which that's not fair. You shouldn't be allowed to be your favorite team. You should have to suffer like I do and actually root for Clemson. It's very hard to do. But one of the interesting things you talk about, Deion Sanders loved playing for Zimmer. Zimmer. He had Zimmer, I want to say it was either Jackson State or Colorado, but he had Zimmer as kind of an advisor, and he went in, I forgot which school it was, but
I think it was Jackson State.
Was it But he's relating to young kids, right? Yeah. So I guess the question again, can he work with the two generations, a different generation? I mean,
he doesn't have to.
In college, they were, if you get the respect of them, they're gonna, you know, that's all you got. So
but Mike, he doesn't have to. He's the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
They have to march to his tune or they don't play. So I mean, I know he's gonna be respectful, and I know he's seen the new generation of players coming in the league. He hasn't been, you know, sitting in a farm somewhere not paying attention. So I'm sure there's certain aspects about how he's going to coach now versus how he coached before that he's going to fine tune. But but when it's all said and done, he doesn't have to change a damn thing.
No.
You get on board, or you get off the train. And that's what the Cowboys are now. We're all in on getting on the board or get off the train. There's a lot of people out there hungry that want to come and play with Dallas and want to win. UFL. We picked up I think a player or two out of there to come in.
We got a cornerback and a linebacker. I think they got. They've turned 2 UFL guys that they picked up into Pro Bowlers. So
and they were with the Birmingham Stallions, who I used to go and watch, and that's where I met Moose Johnston. My brother got opportunity for me to meet Bruce Johnston on the sideline, and we talked.
Oh, nice.
We talked and got a picture together. I showed him my man cave and everything.
What year was that? Was that this year?
Not this season, but last season.
Okay.
Last season. And and man, I'm telling you, when I used to watch the first season, I was like, man, that guy Turpin, that guy's tearing up the USFL. And then Brandon Aubrey this last season when he was with Birmingham, you know, I was just sitting there, man, if we had somebody like him. And then in the off season, when I heard we got Turpin that first, you know, the first one, the year before, I said, oh, Jerry, way to go, baby. And then this year, last year, when I heard he got Aubrey, I said, oh, we 2 for 2. Birmingham Stallions and this other guy going to the Dallas Cowboys. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. Get the win.
Yeah. No. And the funny thing is I wish you were on the show, because we were all panicked at the kicking situation. And they're like, they bring us, who's Aubrey? Never heard of him. That, you know, thank God. I mean, he's been heaven sent.
Oh, I knew who he was.
Yeah. And I give credit to Falk. He had Desmond Howard, you know, we all had to do this dynasty. So, you know, I do my little video. And like I said, it was very painful. I had to dog Miami as a coach video, kind of like a little hype video or whatever. It wasn't easy. But Falk, man, my man goes and get Desmond Howard to do his video. So props to you. You know, you're thinking outside the box, but I just couldn't. I wouldn't be able to bring myself for Clemson. It's hard. I've been playing with Clemson just so I can kind of, get better. I'm not a great player. I mean, I'll be lucky to win a couple games, but I'm going to talk some smack. I'm going to have some fun doing it. I miss college football. I missed the college football game, so we're getting going. But yeah, we've been rolling an hour and a half, Greg. So it might be that time. Betty bye for me because it's almost 11 o'clock. But we had a great time with Eugene Lockhart.
Yes.
It's always a good time. If you guys came in late and you hung out with us the last half of the show, go back and watch the beginning because Eugene Lockhart. We got 213 people hanging with us throughout Twitter, throughout Facebook, throughout YouTube. So do us a favor, go over to subscribe, like, and definitely spread the word. We've got a lot of great things going on. We do this show because we love it. Don't do it for the money. Definitely don't do it for the money.
Yep.
I do it honestly. I tell people it gives me my escape from work, stress of work and kind of, moving and grooving and doing all that stuff. So I really enjoy this. And I tell people, talk about the Cowboys. I do zero prep. I turn the computer on at about 8:55 my time, and I'm saying, all right, let's roll. Let's get it going. No notes, no papers, no nothing. So we appreciate it. We got a lot of great stuff in store. We got some more interviews. Greg, Jimmy, Kelly, we're going to be ramping things up during training camp. We're going to be pulling people from all different directions to get you guys ready and have some fun and hopefully get you guys interactive and calling in, because that's really what I want. The whole reason I did this show is to kind of be able to talk to people. I'm a talker. I'm not really a writer. That's why you don't see me on Twitter too much. But Greg, we always appreciate you in here. You got you got the cave that kind of made, I'm supposed to be the cave guy, and you got it kind of make me look bad. So
I think Mike, I think your cave puts mine to a different level. You the man. You the man. I'm just trying to get there. I just loving the Cowboys for me since I was 5 years old is one of the greatest aspects of living. Yeah, you do everything else in life you need to do. Your responsibility is handle your family, doing this. But listen, loving them Cowboys, I don't care what anybody says. That is one of the most epic parts of life that I have, and I love it. So there's nothing can tear me away from the Cowboys. And I can understand a lot of you are Cowboys fans, and a lot of you don't bite in as much as we do. And that's fine. You're a Cowboys fan, all that. But listen, I'm lifelong down. My casket will probably have a star on it because I am blue in Dallas Cowboys. That I just I can't. I can't explain it to you.
And I tell you, it's just, like some guy, I'm not buying no cowboy gear. Well, I got to buy clothes to wear. So I might as well buy what I want and what I like. And I like blue. I like silver. They look good on me.
That's right.
Red's not my color. Green's not my color. So I might as well get Cowboy stuff. So don't hate on me for buying my Cowboys gear. I support them, and I've seen them win some Super Bowls. Thank God. It's been a drought. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. And believe me, I got a trick up my sleeve because we're going to change the tone, and we're going to get this mojo right. So when that hype video drops, maybe Friday night before the game, I got a couple surprises in store. We're going to get this thing right. So trust me, guys, you stick with Greg, you stick with me, you stick with Kelly. I can't say Jimmy because he's a Falcon fan. We don't want none of that. And all you guys in the chat, if we don't win, one thing we're going to have is a hell of a time. We're going to have some fun tailgate, and we're going to have some stuff. So definitely we look forward to it. But again, I appreciate all the support. I know it's kind of like the slow time of this off season, and what the hell do we keep, what can you talk about? That's why we try and bring in some former athletes that have played the game or training. Obviously with Kason, that was a great show. If you guys missed that, check it out. So I got nothing else to say, but good night. Have a great weekend. Greg, anything you want to leave us with? Speaking of hype videos, you end the show for us.
Speaking of hype videos, go to Gregory Girard 146 on TikTok, and you'll see the hype videos that I put out there for last year, and they're coming in about a month because it's time for the Cowboys to start getting back on the field. It's time for us to bring a new season in, and it's time for us to show everybody out there you can talk about our Cowboys, but you will respect us because we are the Cowboys, and it's Cowboys for life, no matter what. So get on the train or get off. No bandwagons allowed. You hear me? Do you hear me?
I like that. I don't know if I can't top that, but we're going to get this thing rolling. You guys have a great weekend. Can you feel me? Now, can you dig?
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's